Beijing City. The warm winter sun hung distantly in the hazy sky, as cold winds swept through the bustling streets, coating damp ground with a thin layer of frost. Near the bare brown tree trunks, countless pedestrians wrapped in thick down jackets lowered their heads to their frost-reddened hands, breathing warm air onto them, complaining about the weather before hurriedly walking away with hands in their pockets. Suoqing held a cup of hot tea standing before the floor-to-ceiling window, where wisps of steam rose from the cup, forming a patch of white mist on the glass. His eyes fixed on the distant sky, lost in thought. The heavenly court has emerged. He paused, letting out a long sigh. These peaceful days are finally coming to an end. We won't even be able to properly celebrate this new year. Behind him on the sofa, an elderly man in white clothes held a black go piece, gently placing it on the board on the tea table with a slight smile. Feeling reluctant? Of course, after all, who doesn't enjoy peaceful times? Suoqing spoke slowly, but since war has come to us, we can't just passively take the hits. Once we win, peaceful days will return. He turned around, sat opposite the elderly man in white, took out a white piece from the container and placed it on the board. Grand Master, what are our chances of winning? Suoqing asked. Jiang Zia didn't answer immediately, but picked up another black piece and placed it down. On the board before him there were now 4 black pieces surrounding a single white piece. If we only defend passively, at most 1 in 10. What about taking the initiative to attack? Jiang Zia's eyes narrowed slightly as he picked up the white piece, moved it 1 space to the side, knocking the nearest black piece off the board. The white piece broke through, facing 3 opponents. 3 in 10. Doesn't sound like good news. Suoqing sighed. War isn't simply about power struggles. Besides direct confrontation, many factors can influence the battle situation. Jiang Zia spoke leisurely. He reached out and pointed to the 3 black pieces. Who can guarantee these 3 black pieces won't face other unexpected changes? Suoqing looked at the 3 black pieces and the one knocked off the board, falling into deep thought. Grandmaster, how much time do we have left? 10 days. 10 days. Suoqing nodded. Just then 2 knocks sounded, and the office door opened as a night watchman entered. What is it? Commander Zhuo, the Nightfall team has returned. Hearing this, Suoqing's eyebrows raised and a smile appeared on his lips. He lifted his teacup and took a sip, his anxious heart slightly relaxing. These kids, they've returned at just the right time. They also brought back a human powerhouse with a divine artifact from Japan, the night watchman continued. Pfft. The hot tea in Suoqing's mouth suddenly sprayed out, landing precisely on Jiang Zia sitting opposite. Jiang Zia? What did you say? Night Watchman Cemetery. Cold winds swept up white petals, like early winter snow, dancing between the cold tombstones. A figure in a black suit holding white flowers stood silently before a new tombstone. On that tombstone were deeply engraved words. Blue Rain. Team member Changnan City 136 Squad Vice Captain Wu Xiangnan's tomb. Lin Chia gazed at the tombstone for a long while, bent down to place the white flowers before it and let out a long sigh. Night Watchman's tombstones are carved by the deceased's teammates, an unwritten rule within the organization. Years ago, Zhao Kongqing's tombstone was carved by Hong Ying herself. Now that the Blue Rain team had been completely wiped out, and in Changnan's 136 squad, only Lin Chia knew of Wu Xiangnan's death in battle, so the vice captain's tombstone could only be carved by Lin Chia. This was Lin Chia's first time carving a tombstone for someone else. Since Wu Xiangnan's physical body had dissipated, leaving no corpse, the tomb beneath this stone was empty. In the lonely night watchman's cemetery, his was the only figure standing silently in the cold wind. Moments later, a second figure entered the cemetery. Commander Zhuo. Lin Chia turned to see the arrival and spoke first. Suoqing stood beside him, his gaze falling on the tombstone, complex emotions appearing in his eyes. I heard about Wu Xiangnan on my way here. Honestly, I still can't believe that the 3 of you killed a deity. The god was killed by Vice Captain Wu. Lin Chia glanced at the tombstone. Wang Mian and I just tried our best to help him fulfill his dying wish. It's remarkable, all of you. Suoqing said. Besides the posthumous honors for Wu Xiangnan, you and Wang Mian each deserve a personal Star C medal for this achievement alone. Given the special circumstances, We won't hold a ceremony now. I'll have someone deliver them later. Suiqing bent down to place his flowers beside Lin Chia's, paid his respects, then walked out of the cemetery with Lin Chia. Commander Zhou, the heavenly court has descended. Lin Chia spoke. Yes, I know. What will happen next? I'm not entirely sure of the specifics. Suiqing was silent for a moment before saying, in this whirlwind of war between deities, there's little we can do. Our most important mission is to protect the ordinary people behind us and defend Daxia. If Daxia's deities are the first line of defense, then we night watchmen are the second line standing before the masses and also the last. No matter what happens, we must not falter. Lin Chia silently nodded. Suiqing was right. If a full-scale divine war erupts, those below human peak level wouldn't even qualify to participate. Although Nightfall was a special team, they were still far from the level of warfare between deities. All they could do was guard this last line of defense. What do you need us to do? Lin Chia asked. Suiqing seemed to have already planned for this and calmly said, with war approaching, we no longer have time to let those rookies in the training camp grow slowly. I'm giving you 10 days. After 10 days, they must graduate from the training camp and be assigned to different night watchman teams. Only then can we deploy enough veterans to the front lines. In the coming years, these new recruits will be the core force maintaining internal stability in Daxia. In these 10 days, whatever methods you use, you must turn them into qualified night watchmen. Can you do it? 10 days. Hearing these words, Lin Chia's heart sank slightly, but he didn't hesitate long before nodding. Yes. Since Suiqing had mentioned the number 10 days, it meant that after that, something would definitely change. The sense of crisis lingering in Lin Chia's heart grew stronger. They didn't have much time left. By the way, I heard you brought back a human prodigy with a divine weapon from Japan? Left Qing asked casually. That's right. Lin Chia glanced at Left Qing's expression and asked curiously, Commander Left, you don't seem surprised? Just a human prodigy, what's there to be surprised about? Left Qing smiled nonchalantly. Where is he? Follow me. Lin Chia led Left Qing to the door of a rental apartment. Through the window they could see a handsome young boy sitting on the bed, his snow-white hair cascading like a waterfall over the edge, holding a copy of Chi-Chi Baby's Complete Pinyin Guide, and reading it earnestly. Beside him, Jiang Air floated in the air, her voice coming through a Bluetooth speaker, patiently correcting his pronunciation. Desert. Dessert. Sugar. Sugar. Shamey. Never mind, let's skip that one. Sofa. Sofa. Left Qing curiously observed Yuzuri Takashiro inside. So young? He's only 13. Lin Chia told Left Qing everything about Yuzuri Takashiro, including the history of the divine calamity in his possession. After listening, Left Qing fell silent, looking at Yuzuri Takashiro with complex emotions. Commander Left, I have a request. Lin Chia said seriously. Although we brought him back to Daxia, he doesn't belong here and has no obligation to follow all the night watchman's arrangements, plus he's still young. I understand what you mean. Left Qing nodded. We won't force him to do anything, everything will be based on his own wishes. Seemingly hearing their conversation, Yuzuri Takashiro inside looked up, his pure eyes curiously gazing out the window, showing a warm, sunny smile. We're about to head to the training camp. How do you plan to arrange for him? Lin Chia turned to look at Left Qing. Hearing this, Left Qing spoke with surprise. I thought you were going to take him with you. We're just going for training, not to war. Lin Chia shook his head. Moreover, he's never experienced the peaceful life that someone his age should have. Since he's just arrived in Daxia and is interested in everything, I want to let him enjoy himself for a while. I understand. Left Qing nodded. I don't speak Japanese, so I'll send someone who does to look after him. Good. After Left Qing left, Lin Chia stepped into the room. Bai Li Pangpang and others who were resting in the living room turned around, and seeing Lin Chia arrive, asked, Chia, what did Commander Left say? Do we have a new mission? Yes, pack your things, we're heading back to the training camp. Everyone exchanged glances and began busying themselves. Brother Chia, are you all going to be busy? Yuzuri Takashiro blinked his eyes and asked upon seeing this. Lin Chia walked up to Yuzuri Takashiro, patted his head and smiled. Yes, we brothers have a lot of work to do. Someone will come to find you soon and show you around Daxia. Can you take care of yourself? Yes. You remember the phone number I gave you, right? If you encounter any problems, call me. Lin Chia instructed. Also, don't use your abilities in front of ordinary people, understand? I understand. Good boy. Lin Chia stood up and, as if sensing something, walked outside. In the distant sky, a red dragon carrying a blue-clothed girl was rapidly flying towards them. The flame-veined earth dragon landed and transformed into Red Yen wearing a caregiver's uniform. She carried the sleeping Jialon in her arms like a princess and walked up to Lin Chia. Director, I'm back. Thank you for your hard work. Lin Chia nodded slightly, sent Red Yen back to the God's mental hospital, and carried Jialon into the house. Earlier during the human circle incident, Lin Chia had sent Jialon away early out of concern for her safety. Now that they were back in Xia, he immediately had Red Yen bring her back. After retrieving the sleeping Jialon and packing their belongings, Lin Chia and the others bid farewell to Yuzuri Takashiro and quickly headed towards the training camp. Watching Lin Chia and the others leave, Yuzuri Takashiro sat back in the house, conjured a game controller and started playing games in front of the TV. Soon after, there was a crisp knock at the door. Yuzuri Takashiro glanced at the door, his cross-star-like eyes narrowing slightly. Level. Such a strong aura. Yuzuri Takashiro muttered to himself, remembering what Lin Chia had told him earlier, and still opened his mouth to say somewhat awkwardly in Chinese. Come in. The door opened. A man wearing a plaid shirt and a baseball cap walked in from outside. He first observed Yuzuri Takashiro for a moment, then noticed the game on the TV and made a slight sound of interest. Are you Yuzuri Takashiro? He asked in fluent Japanese. Yes. Yuzuri Takashiro nodded. Are you here to pick me up? Yes. The man looked at the controller in his hands. Do you like playing games? Yeah. The man's eyes lit up slightly as he adjusted his baseball cap. Let me introduce myself, I'm Guan Zai, a programmer. 10 days to turn those rookies into qualified night watchmen? In the car, Bai Li Pangpang spoke in shock. Isn't that too short? Why such a rush? Shin Qingzhu was equally puzzled. These new recruits haven't even been training for more than 4 months. In previous years' recruit training, this would only be a third of the way through. Only Qingyu seemed to realize something, looking at Lin Chia's grave expression and guessed. War is coming? Yes. Lin Chia nodded. Whether we like it or not, we only have 10 days left after all. War won't be delayed just because these recruits are green. Everyone fell silent. Fortunately, from the beginning, we've been constantly pushing their potential in a high-pressure environment. Although the training time hasn't been long, their combat qualities aren't actually too weak. Lin Chia continued, what they lack is only tempering between life and death. Tempering between life and death, Chao Yuan pondered for a moment. How do we do that? Training camp. In the biting cold wind, a group of young people in military uniforms, drenched in sweat and carrying heavy loads, collapsed on the ground, breathing heavily. Damn, I'm exhausted. Suja rubbed his sore calves and complained, training like this every day, when will it end? The day after tomorrow is New Year's Eve, can't we get a break? A break is impossible, Ding Chongfeng shrugged. We'll definitely be spending this new year in the camp. If I were back home, I'd be buying Spring Festival couplets and snacks now, happily preparing for the new year. I used to be just a lazy couch potato, why torture me like this? Ding Chongfeng reached out and squeezed the 2 large pectoral muscles on his chest, reminding him. Suja, you're not a couch potato anymore, you've built muscles. After 4 months of intensive training, even a pig would build muscles. Su Yuan looked at Suja with disdain and rolled her eyes. Suja, your sister looks down on you, Ding Chongfeng said eerily. Why do you always like to stir up trouble? Suja patted Su Yuan's thigh. Don't I know whether my sister looks down on me or not? Is this your first day knowing us? Get your pig hands off me. You pervert. Su Yuan, you can call me a pig, but isn't calling me a pervert going too far? Pervert. Ding Chongfeng watched the fighting siblings with a satisfied smile. Look, those 3 people over there finished training without even breaking a sweat. Suja glanced at the 3 people nearby and couldn't help commenting, are they monsters? Ding Chongfeng followed his gaze to the 2 men and 1 woman, a complex expression appearing on his face. Them, aren't they just monsters? In the distance, slap, Fang Emo casually killed an insect trying to suck his blood and tossed it aside. The ground beside him was already littered with dead flying insects. Are you particularly attractive to insects? Li Jinjin sat down beside him and asked curiously. It's just my special constitution, Fang Emo replied simply, then continued looking up at the sky pensively. What are you thinking about? I'm wondering where Lord Chia and the others went. Why haven't they returned yet? Fang Emo sighed. Without the special instructors, these regular training sessions are indeed too monotonous. Li Jinjin shrugged. I miss those days when we were surrounded by mysteries and doing all kinds of strange training. Though it was tiring, it felt fulfilling. As Li Jinjin finished speaking, a one-eyed black-haired youth carrying a huge rock on his back calmly passed by the two, heading straight for the edge of the training ground. He gave Fang Emo a cold glance, his eyes carrying a hint of challenge. Lu Baoyu, what are you doing? Li Jinjin was startled seeing the huge rock on his back. Lu Baoyu didn't answer, silently walking to the top step. Taking a deep breath with the rock on his back, he began doing frog jumps along the edge of the training ground. Has he gone crazy? Training just ended. Before Li Jinjin could finish speaking, Fang Emo stood up beside her. Where are you going? He's challenging me. Fang Emo narrowed his eyes at Lu Baoyu and said coldly. He picked up an even larger rock from nearby, carried it on his back, and began chasing after the black-clothed youth's figure along the edge of the training ground. While most new recruits hadn't recovered from the exhaustion of training, these two youths had already begun a silent competition, drawing everyone's attention, including the instructors. These two kids are quite interesting, Instructor Hong observed the two youths through binoculars and couldn't help commenting. Both of them have exceptional abilities, potential and combat talent. Lu Baoyu's mentality was lacking before, but Lin Chia forcefully corrected it, creating two precious gems, Yuan Gang said with a smile. Their future is limitless. When will Lin Chia and the others return? They just called me while on the road. They should be arriving soon. Yuan Gang's gaze fell on the distance, his eyebrows raised as he smiled. Look, aren't they back already? On the distant road, 6 figures wearing deep red cloaks were slowly walking in through the main gate. It's the special instructors. Damn. The special instructors are back. The new recruits resting on the ground exploded with excitement when they saw the 6 approaching figures. Some faces showed excitement while others showed bitterness. The special instructors' return meant their days of suffering would begin again. In just a few seconds, all the new recruits got up from the ground and quickly formed ranks, uniformly saluting the 6 people. Greetings, instructors. Lin Chia, carrying a black case on his back, stood before them, scanning the crowd with a hint of a smile. During their absence, these new recruits' spirit had improved considerably. They had moved beyond being rookies, and were approaching becoming true soldiers. Lin Chia nodded slightly, glancing at Yuan Gang and the others watching from afar, and said to the new recruits, "Continue resting, dismissed." After speaking, he walked alone toward the instructors. After Lin Chia left, some recruits rushed forward, surrounding Bai Li Pangpang and the others, asking curiously, "Instructor Bai Li, what were you doing before?" "Yeah, Instructor Bai Li, did you go on a mission? Can you tell us about it? You must have killed many infinite-level mysteries, right? Did you see any Klein-level mysteries? Are they really as terrifying as the legends say?" Seeing the recruit's sparkling eyes, Bai Li Pangpang coughed lightly, put his hands behind his back and said casually, "Well, we just went on a casual mission, destroyed a Japanese divine nation along the way. Oh right, Chia also slew a Japanese god, what was it called? Susanoo or something, can't remember clearly." All recruits. Why? "Instructor Bai Li, you must be joking," someone among the recruits laughed. "I heard that in human history, only the great Xia Sword Immortal has ever slain a god. Instructor Lin hasn't ascended to godhood yet. How could he slay a god?" "Yeah, instructor, that's too far-fetched. Isn't Japan's divine nation Takamagara? How could it be destroyed so easily?" "Instructor, please tell us about the real mission, we're really curious." The many recruits present seemed to take this as a joke, some complaining and criticizing. Even Fang Emo just smiled helplessly without speaking, while Lu Baoyu sat aside, silently picking at his fingers. As Bai Li Pangpang opened his mouth to say something, a beam of light descended from the sky, transforming into a night watcher wearing a dark red cloak, holding a box in both hands, seemingly looking around for something. "Excuse me, where's Captain Lin?" Upon seeing the cloaks of Bailey Pang Pang and others, the person recognized them as members of Nightfall team and asked immediately, "You're looking for Chia? What's the matter?" "Oh, I'm here on behalf of Commanders Wood to deliver this Star C medal to Captain Lin." The person couldn't help but exclaim, "I heard Captain Lin fought against deities in Takamagara and achieved great merit. I've admired him for a long time." The air fell into dead silence. Feng Mo's smile froze on her face, and even Lu Baoyu, who was quietly peeling her fingers, shuddered and accidentally cut her finger. The new recruit's jaws dropped in shock. "Oh, I see," Bailey Pang Pang said with a smile, pointing in Lin Chia's direction. "He's over there." "Thank you." The person's figure flickered and disappeared from the spot. The next moment the entire training ground erupted in chaos. Lin Chia received the Star C medal from the Nightwatcher's hand. This was Lin Chia's first personal Star C medal. The previous two were team medals representing the achievements of the entire Nightfall. He carefully examined the personal medal and found that except for his name engraved on the back, there seemed to be no other differences. A personal Star C medal? Yuan Gang approached with the other instructors, smiling. "I haven't seen one of these in many years. Seems you've accomplished something extraordinary on this mission." "Just got lucky." Lin Chia put away the medal, smiled, and casually brushed past the question. Yuan Gang didn't press further and turned his attention to the wooden box on Lin Chia's back, asking curiously, "When did you start carrying a black box?" "There's a sword that's difficult to store, so I'm keeping it in the box for now." Inside the black box on Lin Chia's back was the divine weapon Kusanagi sword, stolen from Takamagara. Due to its can cut through anything property, it couldn't be stored in any scabbard. Lin Chia could only store it in the black box, using metal to secure the sword's handle to ensure the blade wouldn't touch the box or any other items. "This morning we received orders from commanders who were requiring the new recruits to graduate within 10 days. Yuan Gang looked at Lin Chia. "What do you think?" Moving to the main topic, Lin Chia's expression turned serious. 10 days isn't enough time to either enhance physical fitness or improve their levels, so I want to approach this from a different angle. Lin Chia paused. "Actually, on our way here we already briefly discussed a plan." Lin Chia briefly explained the team's plan to the instructors, who exchanged glances with each other. This would be a first in the training camp's history. Yuan Gang pondered. But under special circumstances, it might actually have remarkable results. "You think it's feasible?" "Yes." Yuan Gang nodded. "When do you plan to take them?" "We've roughly calculated that this training exercise will only take about 7 days in total. Before that, I'd like to give them a break," Lin Chia said seriously. "A break?" Yuan Gang was surprised. This training plan will be very demanding, and they've already gone through 4 months of high-intensity training. Being constantly under high pressure will actually have negative effects. Besides, isn't it almost New Year? Let them rest properly first, and after the new year we'll set out. Yuan Gang thought for a moment, looked at the excited new recruits in the distance and sighed deeply. "That's fine. After all, once the war begins, no one knows what their fate will be. Perhaps they won't be able to rest for a very long time in the future." After speaking, Yuan Gang seemed to think of something and frowned in contemplation. "What's wrong, Instructor Yuan?" "I just thought of something." Yuan Gang spoke with an odd expression. "If we give them these 3 days off, the timing might be rather unfortunate." Lin Chia was puzzled. "Why?" Yuan Gang raised his head, looking in a certain direction with a complicated expression. "Recently, Beijing is about to see some changes." The Squad 006 headquarters. Xiaopingde stood by the window looking at the bare tree branches in the courtyard outside, and let out a long sigh. He held his phone to his ear and slowly spoke. "So, the war is really coming?" "Yes." Suiqing's voice came from the other end of the phone. "We only have 10 days left. Within 10 days you must handle the situation in Beijing, preferably within these 2 days. Beijing is the heart of Dixia and the location of the Nightwatcher headquarters. You must handle this matter carefully, there can be no mistakes." "I understand." Xiaopingde closed his eyes helplessly. "I know you have a laid-back personality and don't like fighting and killing, but since war has come to us, we have no choice." Suiqing added, The front lines cannot be without you, Xiaopinga. Don't worry, I know what's important. Xiaopinga shrugged. Have you found the new candidate? Yes, I'll fax you his information shortly. Is he reliable? Very reliable. He's that person's proxy, and whether in terms of strength, character, or divine void, he's the most suitable. Suiqing said with certainty. I've already issued his transfer orders. He'll arrive in Beijing by tonight at the latest. All right. After that, Xiaopinga hung up the phone. His gaze through the window fell on the training ground behind the courtyard, where several Squad 006 members were sparring, laughing and cursing. Xiaopinga stood still like a statue. A few minutes later, the fax machine beeped. Soon, a document appeared on Xiaopinga's desk. He turned around, walked to his desk, picked up the document and began reading it carefully. Former captain of Squad 332 in Anta County, Qin Han, he muttered. Anta County. A dilapidated two-story building stood lonely in front of the desolate forest. The red walls had largely faded, and a yellowed sign hung on the right side of the entrance. Anta County Forest Protection Bureau. White snow fell from the gray sky. In this northern city of Desia, the temperature had dropped to below -20 degrees. On the uneven ground in front of the low building, covered in frost, a young man wearing an old military coat sat quietly on the stone steps. He had a rolled cigarette in his mouth, with wisps of smoke rising from the burning end. He took a deep drag and slowly exhaled. In the hazy mist, his eyes flickered with a dark gleam, and his entire demeanor suddenly became profound. Senior Qin Han, why are you sitting out here alone? Yu Lu walked out of the warm room wrapped in thick clothing, exhaling a breath of hot air, and couldn't help asking when he saw Qin Han sitting alone on the stairs. After Anta County was taken by the Egyptian nine-pillar gods and then returned by Zhou Ping, they were supposed to rebuild a new quarters for Squad 332, but Qin Han didn't want to leave this low-rise building and refused. However, all the heating supplies had been repaired and it was no longer as unbearably cold as before. The dark color in Qin Han's eyes faded as he flicked his cigarette ash. I'm waiting for a document. Document? What document? Qin Han was silent for a moment. Yu Lu, I might have to leave here. Yu Lu froze, a complex emotion flashed in his eyes, but he still smiled. Senior Qin Han, you should have left here long ago. Qin Han looked at him in surprise. After returning from the mist, I clearly felt that your aura started to change, Senior Qin Han. Yu Lu's gaze met Qin Han's eyes. Although I can't sense your specific realm, I'm certain that in these 2 years, you've reached a terrifying level that I can't comprehend. Senior Qin Han, it would be too much of a waste if you stay in this small Anta County. You should go do more important things. Qin Han silently looked at Yu Lu and after a long while, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He walked down the stairs wearing his military coat, and flicked Yu Lu's forehead with his finger, causing the latter to cover his head and step back. Senior Qin Han, why did you hit me? You kid, I haven't even left yet and you're already thinking about usurping my position as squad leader? Qin Han laughed. What's so special about being a squad leader of one person? Yu Lu stuck out his tongue. Even if you let me, I don't want to be one. Squad members will come eventually. Qin Han said seriously, and you too will eventually become Senior Yu Lu in their words. Yu Lu opened his mouth but said nothing. Outside the Forest Protection Bureau, a figure trudged through the wind and snow, walking quickly towards them. Which one of you is squad leader Qin? The person held a package and called out to the two of them. Qin Han stepped forward to the person. That's me. Your documents. The person handed the package to Qin Han. Commanders was said for you to leave as soon as possible, preferably tonight. I understand. Qin Han walked back into the Forest Protection Bureau, opened the package, glanced at the document and let out a long sigh. Looks like I really have to go. Senior Qin Han, you should go. Yu Lu spoke seriously. I will protect Squad 332. Qin Han looked at him with a complex expression, put away the document. I'll take some of the cigarettes in the drawer, the rest are yours, use them sparingly. Living alone, don't use too much heating, it's wasteful. Okay. When new people come, act more mature, don't embarrass our Squad 332. Qin Han opened the door, his boots stepping into the snow, snowflakes dancing around his military coat. He turned back, taking one last look at the low building and Yulu, opening his mouth as if wanting to say something more. After a moment he shook his head and walked alone into the snowstorm. Goodbye. Yulu stood silently at the door, watching that figure in the military coat gradually disappear into the snow. He slowly closed his reluctant eyes, took a deep breath and bowed deeply to that retreating figure. Training camp. Lin Chia walked up to the training ground platform, about to say something when his expression suddenly froze. He saw the new recruits below the platform staring at him intently, their eyes shining like a group of fanatic fans seeing their idol, their faces full of admiration and longing. These passionate gazes made Lin Chia somewhat uncomfortable. He looked puzzled at Bailey Pang Pang and others below the platform, who grinned at him and gave a thumbs up. Lin Chia. Next, I have something to announce. Lin Chia temporarily ignored those gazes and calmly spoke. Starting tomorrow you will have a 3-day holiday. Hearing these words, countless passionate eyes below the platform simultaneously froze. Holiday. Holiday. During this time you can move freely within Beijing City. After 3 days, you will undergo an unprecedented devil's training. Lin Chia spoke calmly. Unless something unexpected happens, this will be your last holiday for the next few years. Enjoy it well. As Lin Chia's words fell, the stunned recruits below the platform finally came to their senses and couldn't help but cheer. 4 months of high-intensity training had exhausted them both physically and mentally. They never imagined that Lin Chia would actually give them a holiday. Does this mean they can happily celebrate the new year? Long live Instructor Lin. Instructor Lin. You're my idol. Night curtain. Squad is the best. Lin Chia looked at the cheering crowd below, his lips curling slightly upward. He raised his hand to signal the students to be quiet and continued. You have half an hour to go back to your dormitories and pack your things, then come here to collect the temporary straight knives stored in the warehouse, and then you can leave. Remember, don't use your abilities in front of ordinary people. The cheering from the new students didn't diminish at all, but some of them had already keenly noticed something was amiss. Collect knives? Why do we need to carry knives during holiday? Don't know, maybe they want us to practice knife skills during the break? And what's with not using abilities in front of ordinary people? Why do I feel like something's going to happen during this holiday? Hiss, I also have a bad feeling. You're thinking too much. This is Beijing with Squad 006 guarding it. What could happen? That's true. After the new students dispersed, they quickly returned to their dormitories to pack their things, then boarded the buses and left the training camp. Chia, why make them carry knives? After the recruits left, and Qingyu and others walked to Lin Chia's side and asked puzzledly. Most likely they won't need them, this is just a precaution. Lin Chia recalled what Yuan Gang had just told him and shrugged. Beijing right now is perhaps the most dangerous it's been in the past decade, or perhaps the safest. Everyone still looked confused. Come on, I'll explain on the way. Lin Chia smiled and patted their shoulders. On the way. Where are we going? To Squad 006's station. Lin Chia added. To freeload a meal. The night grew deeper. The winter night was cold and desolate. Even before midnight there were hardly any people on the streets, only the bright lights connecting with the stars, silently shining under the night sky. Stars illuminate the sky, while lights adorn the human world. A young person wearing a military coat and leather boots walked out of the airport, standing on the streets of Upper Capital, looking at the brightly lit metropolis, and let out a long sigh. Chin Han hadn't returned to the big city for many years. He was a typical city person, grew up in the urban area and had barely visited his rural hometown. If he hadn't been assigned to Anta County by the training camp, he probably wouldn't even know what the countryside looked like. Because of this, when the pampered Chin Han first went to Anta County and lived at the Forest Protection Bureau with Li Diang, he wanted to escape countless times. That harsh environment was simply endless torture for him. In these years he hadn't seen city lights. What he saw most was the star-filled night sky of the Northern Territory. Now he was no longer the pampered and naive Chin Han of the past. Standing on the streets of Upper Capital, Chin Han felt a sense of being in a different world. He felt somewhat uncomfortable. Just then a black sedan drove along the smooth road and stopped in front of him. The engine turned off, the door opened, and Xiao Pinga, dressed in casual clothes, got out of the car, rubbed his sleepy eyes, walked up to Chin Han and spoke with a smile. Chin Han. Yes, that's me. Hello, I'm the captain of Upper Capital's 006 Squad and the director of Night Watchman's Human Resources Department, Xiao Pinga. Xiao Pinga extended his hand and Chin Han shook it. Hello, Director Xiao, Chin Han politely replied. Xiao Pinga was already in his 40s, while Chin Han was only 27 or 28, making him a junior in Xiao's presence. Don't call me director. In some sense you're my superior, Xiao Pinga said with a smile. Superior? Chin Han was stunned. The deity I represent is the King Yama of Great Xia, Xiao Pinga pointed at Chin Han half-jokingly saying, and the one you represent is our Great Xia's Emperor Fengdu, the highest god ruling the underworld. Please don't joke about that, Chin Han shook his head. Personal strength and experience aren't determined by the status of the deity we represent. I haven't been with the Night Watchman for long and I've only been a proxy for 2 years. From any perspective I couldn't possibly be your superior. Just a joke, don't be so tense. Xiao Pinga patted his shoulder. I've seen your records. In 2 years you've advanced from pool level to Klein. Seems you're very compatible with that deity's divine realm. Your potential is limitless. You're too kind. Do you know why you were called to Upper Capital? Yes, Commander Zhou personally called me. Are you ready? Yes. Chin Han nodded calmly. When do we start? Xiao Pinga turned around, looked at the neon-lit city and remained silent for a moment. We don't have much time left. Let's start now. The bus stopped by the empty street. New recruits carrying luggage and black cases rushed down from the bus, looking at the quiet and beautiful city before them with excitement in their eyes. Haha. Shopping malls. Food. Pretty sister massage parlors. I'm here. Old Qian, let's go together? I know this really good barbecue place, I'll treat you. Let's go, I'll eat until you go bankrupt tonight. Old Zhao, did you book a hotel? Can I join you? TCH, who stays in hotels during vacation? Come on, I'll take you to a club for some ace of spades, we'll party all night. Fang Mo, Lu Baoyu and Li Jinjin were the last to get off the bus. Fang Mo, come on. Let's play some mahjong. Ding Chongfeng walked over and put his arm around Fang Mo's neck, pointing at Su Yuan and Su Zhe in the distance saying, these siblings say they're the gambling kings of Jiangnan, and the useless brother of the gambling king, let's go check it out. After hesitating for a moment, Fang Mo nodded. He had nowhere else to go in Upper Capital and going with the 3 of them should be more interesting. Jinjin, where are you planning to go? Fang Mo turned and asked. I'm heading back to the 006 Squad headquarters, want to come with me? Li Jinjin blinked. The courtyard house of 006 Squad was Li Jinjin's home, and since they were on break from training camp, it was natural to go home for the new year. Nah, if I go to your home for New Year's, I'm afraid the 006 Squad seniors will kill me. Fang Mo shrugged. After speaking, he hesitated for a moment before calling out to Lu Baoyu, who was standing alone. Hey, do you have somewhere to go? Want to come with us? Lu Baoyu had no luggage, only carrying a black case on his back. He glanced at Fang Mo and coldly replied, not interested. Without waiting for others to react, he turned and left alone, his figure disappearing into the night. What a weird person, Su Zhe muttered. Forget about him, let's go. After saying goodbye to Li Jinjin, Ding Chongfeng, Fang Mo, Su Yuan, and Su Zhe left in another direction. Li Jinjin briefly oriented herself, then dragged her suitcase toward the 006 Squad headquarters. About 20 minutes later she arrived at the courtyard house's entrance. As soon as she pushed open the door, the rich aroma of food wafted over, making Li Jinjin, who had eaten nothing but questionable fish cakes for 4 straight months, feel hungry. She had just walked in when she froze in place. The courtyard was already bustling with activity. Brother Bailey, can you go to the kitchen and bring out that fish head soup? Sure thing. Teach, this roast duck is a bit tough. Zhang Jingting, how did you cook this? Don't blame me, Lu, who made this roast duck. Sister Jiang Er, the TV in our room is broken. Can you help us fix it? Where are the Spring Festival couplets? Where did you put the ones I bought yesterday? Qingyu, can you make fireworks? You know, the kind that fly up into the sky and then go pop 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 several times. The members of 006 Squad had completely mixed with the Night Curtain Squad. Bailey Pang Pang and Chao Yuan were helping Zhang Jingting in the kitchen. Jiang Er had become an impromptu appliance repair person, and Qingyu was secretly studying black powder with 2 other young upper capital squad members. No war, no missions, no outer gods or mysteries. At this moment they seemed no longer to be night watchmen standing guard before all living beings, but rather ordinary people enjoying the simple pleasures of life. Shin Qingzhu and another upper capital squad member were leaning against a wall smoking. Seeing Li Jinjin standing dumbfounded at the door, he raised an eyebrow. "You're back? Go put your things away and get ready for dinner." Li Jinjin. For a moment, Li Jinjin began to suspect that she was the guest in this courtyard house. Officer Shin. This isn't the training camp, no need to be so nervous. Shin Qingzhu extinguished his cigarette and smiled at Li Jinjin. "Would you like an apple? I can wash one for you." "No need." Li Jinjin shook her head, flattered, and looked around, asking with confusion, "Where's Officer Lin? I don't see him." 7 Night. He's discussing something with Officer Yuan in the innermost room. In the clean side room, Lin Chia sat by the bed, gently holding the hand of sleeping Jelon, slowly closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. "I understand." Yuan Gang spoke with a complex expression. "You want her to stay here temporarily?" "Yes." Lin Chia nodded slightly. "No one knows what fate our team will face after the war begins. It's too dangerous to keep her with us. And since she's just sleeping, I can't exactly put her in a coffin and carry her around. After thinking for a long time, I still feel leaving her here is the safest option. I will leave a caregiver here to look after her. When the war ends or when we find a way to wake her up, I'll come back to take her away." "No problem." Yuan Gang nodded slightly. "We have many empty rooms here. Not just her, you all should stay here instead of returning to the training camp these days. It's almost New Year, having more people makes it livelier." "That's good." Lin Chia and the others had no place to stay in Beijing except the training camp dormitory. Now that it's holiday time, they didn't want to go back there. Since the 006 team's base could accommodate them, staying here for a few days wouldn't be bad. Lin Chia summoned a blonde female caregiver, instructed her to take good care of Jelon, then walked out of the room with Yuan Gang. 7 Night. Officer Yuan, dinner's ready. Bailey Pang Pang called out as he walked out of the kitchen carrying plates. Everyone took their seats. "Where's Uncle Xiao? Why isn't he here?" Li Jinjin asked curiously, noticing Xiao Pinga's empty seat. Yuan Gang's hand paused while picking up food, and after a moment of silence he said, "He's away on business these days and won't be back for a while." "Oh." Li Jinjin seemed somewhat disappointed. The members of Night Curtain team all glanced at Lin Chia, who kept eating without saying anything. "Come, let's toast to Night Curtain team's complete victory in destroying Takamagara." Zhang Jingting stood up, raising his beer, taking the lead. "Cheers." After everyone finished eating in high spirits, they drew lots to decide who would wash dishes. The lucky Lin Chia avoided the task through through luck, and sat leisurely in the courtyard corridor eating sunflower seeds. And Qingyu sat down beside him with Jiang Air, grabbing a handful of sunflower seeds. 7 Night. Can you tell us what's going to happen in Beijing now? Is it related to Xiaopinga? You figured it out? Lin Chia asked in surprise. Let's just say I had some ideas. And Qingyu exchanged glances with Jiang Air and smiled slightly. When we were in Beijing before, I noticed some peculiarities. Beijing's order is very special. Because of the large population concentration here, mysteries appear much faster than in other cities. If Team 006 tried to eliminate each mystery, as it appeared, the difficulty would be too high. So, Beijing's strategy for handling mysteries isn't elimination, but deterrence. An absolutely powerful being presides over Beijing like a king, using invisible deterrence to suppress visible enemies. All mysteries that appear in Beijing must follow the order established by this king. Once someone crosses the line, they will be eliminated by the king. Over time, the mysteries in Beijing enter a state of collective silence. Achieving without doing. This is the truth behind Beijing's peace and tranquility. And White Ghost Xiaopinga is the king who presides over Beijing. Yes, that's correct. Lin Chia nodded. And Qingyu thought for a moment, then asked his lingering question. But once the war begins, Team 006 will be disbanded and sent to the front lines, and Xiaopinga won't be able to preside over Beijing. Without the king's presence, countless mysteries, in silent state will surely become active again. At that time, this prosperous modern metropolis will become a paradise for demons. If Beijing falls, the consequences would be unimaginable. What can be done about this? Lin Chia cracked a sunflower seed, dropped the shell in the plate and calmly said, "It's nearly impossible to completely eliminate all mysteries in Beijing, so this deterrence-based management model won't change. Perhaps the only thing that can change is the king, who presides over this city." "You mean after the old king leaves, a new king will come to preside over Beijing?" And Qingyu suddenly understood. So, the big event about to happen in Beijing is the transfer of authority from the old king to the new? But how exactly will this be done? And who is the new king? Midnight. The city lights gradually went out, leaving only orange street lamps like soft ribbons sprawling across the ground, quietly emitting their glow. On top of a dark skyscraper, two figures stood on the roof, looking down at the dim city below. A dark red cloak and an old military coat fluttered in the cold night wind. What exactly should I do? Qin Han turned to look at Xiaopinga beside him. Establish authority. Xiaopinga spoke calmly. This city hides countless mysteries. The reason they're quietly hiding everywhere now, not daring to make any moves, is because they fear me. If you want to take my place and deter these mysteries, you must make them feel absolute fear towards you too. And this kind of fear realm pressure alone is far from enough. I understand. Qin Han's eyes narrowed as he spoke softly. I need to use killing to create fear. Mere killing won't work either. Xiaopinga shook his head. It's like training a dog. If you want to teach it not to relieve itself inside the house, you need to beat it severely every time it does so. Eventually it will learn that it can't do that inside. Punish the child who makes mistakes, reward the child who behaves. Only this way will they know what they can and cannot do. Only this way can you establish your own order here. So, from now on I will completely suppress my aura, Xiaopinga said calmly. After losing the pressure of my aura, these mysteries might not dare to act for a short while, because they'll worry whether I'm testing them. But there will always be some disobedient mysteries, who can't contain their nature and want to jump out from the darkness to test me in return. And once their actions receive no response from me, they will become increasingly rampant. That's when I should take action. Qin Han quickly grasped Xiaopinga's meaning. I need to personally slaughter those mysteries that jump out to establish my authority. Exactly, but the problem is when a new king first appears, it will inevitably raise their doubts. At this time, more mysteries will appear to test your limits. What you need to do is continuously prove yourself and instill fear in them. But won't the mysteries' actions harm civilians this way? I'll be responsible for protecting the civilians, don't worry about that. Xiaopinga's gaze fell on the city as if remembering something. Besides, there are still some youngsters in Beijing now. They can handle some of the weaker mysteries. This will be good training for them. After hearing Xiaopinga's plan, Qin Han sighed. Sounds troublesome. Well, that's why not just anyone can be the captain of Beijing, Xiaopinga smiled. A moment later, the smile gradually faded from Xiaopinga's face, replaced by unprecedented seriousness. Although you've come a long way from Anta County, I still need to warn you. Xiaopinga looked into Qin Han's eyes. This isn't a game. Once it starts, you can't stop halfway. If you fail to suppress all the evil in Beijing by yourself, your attempt to establish authority will have failed. They will no longer fear you, nor will they follow the order you create. At that point, I'll have to step in to suppress them to prevent large-scale chaos. But if that happens, you'll completely lose your qualification to become Beijing's captain. So, Qin Han, are you really ready? Qin Han quietly gazed at the city below, took a deep breath and closed their eyes. I'm ready. In the sky, an aura that had shrouded Beijing for over a decade was silently dissipating. It was midnight and the dim streets were empty. This bustling metropolis had fallen into slumber, with only darkness and silence remaining in every corner of the city. Time passed. An old street lamp flickered, casting a human-shaped shadow in the deserted alley. The shadow looked up toward the sky, seemingly puzzled. A moment later, it shook its head and vanished beneath the street lamp. The lamp flickered again before returning to normal as if it had never malfunctioned. Meanwhile, in a closed modern clothing store inside a mall, a pale mannequin lying in the corner suddenly twisted its head eerily, its hollow gaze fixed in a certain direction. The air fell silent for a brief moment. Click click. The mannequin's joints made several crisp sounds as its limbs twisted grotesquely. It fell to the ground, black plastic hair covering its face, like a giant humanoid crawler. It suddenly smashed through the display window, crawling rapidly out of the dark store, instantly vanishing. Beijing First Elementary School. The vast teaching building was now completely dark. In the silent classroom, the desks near the windows were covered in scattered stationery and scratches from sharp nails. Pencil-drawn curse words and obscenities filled the entire desktop. Suddenly, a plain pencil began to tremble slightly, then abruptly stood up from the desk, eerily hovering above a piece of white paper. After a brief pause, the pencil tip began automatically drawing on the paper. The scratching sound echoed in the dead-silent classroom, as if an invisible hand was gripping the pencil, forcefully sketching something. At the same time, a spine-chilling female voice softly rang out. Planchette. Planchette. You are my past life. I am your present life. In the quadrangle courtyard, the busy members of Squad 006 and Night Curtain Squad all seemed to notice something, looking up at the sky simultaneously. Squad 006 members glanced at Yuan Gang, who hesitated for a moment before shaking his head at them. The squad members took a deep breath but didn't say anything, silently continuing their work. This matter was beyond their intervention. In the corridor. Such dense mystery aura. And Qingyu pushed up his glasses, brows tightly furrowed. Just how many mysteries are hidden in Beijing? Looks like they've begun. Lin Chia put down his sunflower seeds and stood up from the corridor chair, eyes fixed on the distance as he spoke slowly. Are we really not going to help? And Qingyu asked. It's not that we don't need to, but that we can't. Lin Chia shook his head and explained. This is the new king's moment to establish authority. If it were weaker people it would be fine, but if people like us at the limitless level intervene, it would have the opposite effect. After all, the deterrent effect of one person massacring through Beijing is completely different from doing so with others' help. The birth of a new king absolutely cannot have any external assistance. If we rashly intervene, we'll only reduce the fear value of the new king among the mysteries. So that's why you let those new recruits bring swords into Beijing? And Qingyu raised an eyebrow. You planned this all along? I said they were on vacation, but I never said it would be a peaceful one. Lin Chia spoke leisurely. The new recruits are weak. Even if they participate in this transition between old and new kings, they won't attract large-scale attention from the mysteries. They won't affect the birth of the new king, and those weak mysteries wandering between cities can provide them with practical combat experience. It kills two birds with one stone. Aren't you worried that high-level mysteries might hurt those new recruits? What if there are casualties? Hearing these words, Lin Chia's eyes narrowed as he gazed at the night sky above, speaking softly. No one can harm my soldiers under my night sky. But didn't you say we can't directly intervene in this battle? And Qingyu frowned. You all can't, but I can. Lin Chia gave Qingyu a mysterious smile. I naturally have my ways. Hot spring bathhouse. 3 dots. 2 bamboo. Peng. In the card room of the establishment, the pleasant sound of mahjong tiles colliding echoed inside. Suja looked at the depleted stack of bills in front of him with a bitter expression. Little sis, lend your brother some more money. He reached out to Su Yuan with a pitiful look. Su Yuan glanced at him with disdain and pulled out some bills from the thick stack in front of her, tossing them to Suja. Interest charged by the hour. You already owe me 200 yuan now. Come on, we're family, why charge interest? Don't be so distant, little sis. Who are you? Do I know you? Suja, your sister wants to split from the family. Ding Chongfeng seriously added fuel to the fire. Suja. Fong Mo drew tiles while watching the comedic siblings bicker, a smile tugging at his lips. Just as he was about to say something, there was a knock on the door. The card room door opened and a woman in a business suit stood outside, speaking softly. Sir, would you like a leg massage? Yes. Suja jumped up from the table, only to be immediately knocked down by Su Yuan's slipper. Ding Chongfeng blinked and looked at Fong Mo, who shrugged in confusion. My legs are fine. No thanks then. Ding Chongfeng replied. The woman left the room. Suja covered his face and got up from the ground indignantly. Suyuan, why did you hit me? I'm a mature, fully developed adult man who's been single for 19 years. I just wanted a leg massage, what's wrong with that? Suyuan spoke flatly. Oh, there was a mosquito on your face. It's winter, where would there be mosquitoes? Look. Suyuan pointed toward Fong Imo. Slap. Fong Imo casually killed a mosquito that was about to suck his blood and threw it in the nearby trash bin, which was already filled with numerous mosquito corpses. Suja. What kind of monster are you? Suja asked in confusion. Before he could finish speaking, the ceiling light in the card room suddenly dimmed, then quickly returned to normal. But whether it was Suja's imagination or not, after the light flickered, the lighting seemed to take on an inexplicably greenish tint. Fong Imo and Suyuan at the mahjong table simultaneously turned to look in a certain direction, their brows furrowing tightly. In the hallway of the establishment, the woman in the business suit walked up to a guest room. She peered through the round glass in the door. The room was pitch black inside, with only a faint green light emanating from the TV. On the bed opposite, there appeared to be a figure lying there, but it was unclear in the dim light. She reached out and knocked on the door, then opened it. Sir, would you like a leg massage? As she opened the door, an inexplicable chill flowed out from the guest room, feeling like an ice cave despite the heating being on full blast. Is the air conditioning broken in this room? The thought flashed through her mind. In the cold guest room, an eerie green light from the TV shone on the pale mattress. The shadowy figure lying in the darkness didn't move. After a long while, a voice drifted out. Yes. The woman rubbed her arms exposed to the cold as she stepped into the room. Sir, shall we change rooms? The air conditioning seems broken in this one. No need. His voice was as unpleasant as grinding machinery. The woman muttered to herself internally as she sat down on the bed. Even at this close distance, she still couldn't make out the face shrouded in shadows. The greenish TV light cast on the bedsheet and walls gave off an eerily sinister atmosphere. The woman glanced at that blurry face from the corner of her eye, feeling unsettled. She symbolically massaged the legs a couple times, then reached to lift the pale sheet, wanting to finish quickly and leave this ghostly place. As she lifted a corner of the sheet in the green glow, the woman saw that leg. It was a leg covered in green fur, rotting and putrid. Green pus dripped down along the fur, and the sheet beneath was covered in nauseating mold and sloughed-off dead skin. As this corner was lifted, an extremely foul stench burst forth, hitting the woman's nostrils. Ah! The woman screamed in terror at the sight. The blurry figure before her suddenly sat up, a rotting, grotesque face nearly touching hers as a hand shot out like lightning toward her throat. Bang! A white shadow burst through the door, leaving afterimages in the darkness as it instantly reached the rotting figure. It was a white cat with heterochromatic eyes. In the greenish light, the white cat's form blurred and transformed into a youth holding a short blade. The blade flashed through the air, instantly severing the putrid hand that was about to touch the woman. Then he turned and kicked hard into the rotting figure's chest. The figure was kicked off the bed, crashing through the window behind and falling toward the ground below. Ding Chongfeng and the others followed in from outside, their eyes sweeping over the large area of decay on the bed and the fainted woman beside it, their brows furrowing tightly. A mystery? How did a mystery suddenly appear here? Don't know. Fong Mo's eyes narrowed, but since we happened to run into it, let's deal with it. In the moonlight, his form transformed back into a white cat. He sniffed the air, then gracefully leaped from the window, easily jumping down 12 floors to the ground, chasing after the rotting figure. Follow him. Suyuan immediately spoke. Ding Chongfeng walked to the window, looked at the 12-story height, and his mouth twitched slightly. Let's take the elevator. Whoosh. A high-speed train rushed past on the tracks, creating a humming sound as it cut through the air. In the tunnel beneath the tracks, a figure sat quietly on the ground. It was a one-eyed youth. He leaned against the rough wall, a grass stem between his lips. The train roared overhead, the fierce wind lifting a few strands of his black hair. His eyes were closed as if sleeping. After some time, his eyes slowly opened as he frowned toward the side. In the hazy moonlight, a girl in tattered clothes carrying a broken bowl walked toward the tunnel. A beggar? Lu Baoyou's eyes narrowed. The little beggar girl noticed the one-eyed youth under the bridge and froze briefly. After making brief eye contact, fear flashed in her eyes. She turned as if to leave, but after hesitating for a moment, she gritted her teeth and carefully approached Lu Baoyu. That, the little beggar pressed her lips together and spoke timidly, "This tunnel is where I sleep."